I specialize only in extensions, a very American product. I've sold love extensions, sometimes called potions, to the lovelorn, loan extensions to the cash-strapped, plenty of those in this economy, time extensions to those under some sort of deadline, and once an eye extension to a fellow who wanted to become an Air Force pilot and knew he couldn't pass the vision test. Streeter was grinning, having fun. He would have said having fun was now out of reach, but life was full of surprises. Elvid was also grinning, as if they were sharing an excellent joke. And once, he said, I swung a reality extension for a painter, very talented man, who was slipping into paranoid schizophrenia. That was expensive. How much? Dare I ask? One of the fellow's paintings, which now graces my home. You'd know the name, famous in the Italian Renaissance. You probably studied him if you took an art appreciation course in college. Streeter continued to grin, but he took a step back, just to be on the safe side. He had accepted the fact that he was going to die, but that didn't mean he wanted to do so today, at the hands of a possible escapee from the Juniper Hill Asylum for the Criminally Insane in Augusta. So what are we saying? That you're kind of, I don't know, immortal? Very long-lived, certainly, Elvid said. Which brings us to what I can do for you, I believe. You'd probably like a life extension. Can't be done, I suppose? Streeter asked. Mentally he was calculating the distance back to his car, and how long it would take him to get there. Of course it can. For a price. Streeter, who had played his share of Scrabble in his time, had already imagined the letters of Elvid's name on tiles and rearranged them. Money? Or are we talking about my soul? Elvid flapped his hand and accompanied the gesture with a roguish roll of his eyes. I wouldn't, as the saying goes, know a soul if it bit me on the buttocks. No, money's the answer, as it usually is. 15% of your income over the next 15 years should do it. An agenting fee, you could call it. That's the length of my extension? Streeter contemplated the idea of 15 years with wistful greed. It seemed like a very long time, especially when he stacked it next to what actually lay ahead, 6 months of vomiting, increasing pain, coma, death. Plus an obituary that would undoubtedly include the phrase after a long and courageous battle with cancer. Yada yada, as they said on Seinfeld. Elvid lifted his hands to his shoulders in an expansive who-knows gesture. Might be 20. Can't say for sure, this is not rocket science. But if you're expecting immortality, fugadaboo deep. All I sell is fair extension. Best I can do. Works for me, Streeter said. The guy had cheered him up, and if he needed a straight man, Streeter was willing to oblige. Up to a point, anyway. Still smiling, he extended his hand across the card table. 15%, 15 years. Although I have to tell you, 15% of an assistant bank manager's salary won't exactly put you behind the wheel of a Rolls-Royce. A Geo, maybe, but... That's not quite all, Elvid said. Of course it isn't, Streeter said. He sighed and withdrew his hand. Mr. Elvid, it's been very nice talking to you. You've put a shine on my evening, which I would have thought was impossible, and I hope you get help with your mental prob. Hush, you stupid man, Elvid said, and although he was still smiling, there was nothing pleasant about it now. He suddenly seemed taller, at least 3 inches taller, and not so pudgy. It's the light, Streeter thought. Sunset light is tricky. And the unpleasant smell he suddenly noticed was probably nothing but burnt aviation fuel, carried to this little graveled square outside the cyclone fence by an errant puff of wind. It all made sense. But he hushed as instructed. Why does a man or woman need an extension? Have you ever asked yourself that? Of course I have, Streeter said with a touch of asperity. I work in a bank, Mr. Elvid, Dairy Savings. People ask me for loan extensions all the time. Then you know that people need extensions to compensate for shortfalls, short credit, short dick, short sight, etc. Yeah, it's a short-ass world, Streeter said.